Hey everyone, Sarah Brown Wessling here from the Council of Chief State School Officers National Teacher of the Year program, and I am so excited to announce the third season of Voices from the Classroom, the State Teacher of the Year podcast. CCSSO's National Teacher of the Year program provides a platform for exceptional educators to elevate issues that affect teachers and their students, to expand their leadership roles, and to inform policy and practice. In this season of the podcast, 2022 State Teachers of the Year will teach us about the lessons their students keep talking about. Maybe it's the one that they come back 2 years later and tell the teachers about. Or maybe it's the one their most recent students have asked for over and over again. This season, we are honored to have two past State Teachers of the Year conducting the interviews themselves. You'll hear Stacy McAdoo, 2019 Arkansas State Teacher of the Year, John Arthur, 2021 State Teacher of the Year, and me in conversation with our teachers throughout this season. I invite you to listen to these incredible stories. Welcome. This is Sarah Brown Wessling, and I am thrilled to be here with Autumn Rivera, the 2022 Colorado State Teacher of the Year. Autumn, thank you so much for joining this conversation today.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Absolutely. So can you start off by telling us just a little bit about who you are, where you teach, what you teach?
Yeah. So I am a sixth grade science teacher in Glenwood Springs Middle School. This is my 18th year teaching, which is a little bit crazy to think about that. I did 7 years in Colorado Springs, and I'm just starting my 11th year at Glenwood Springs Middle School, and just have always loved middle school and always loved science.
So do people always get really surprised when they hear that you've taught for 18 years? Because yes. you look so young. In the best way.
No, they are always surprised. They're like, really? That's how long? Even at space camp, our leader was very surprised. Like, you're that old? So yeah, it's fun. I guess the middle schoolers are keeping me young, you could say.
Absolutely. Well, I am just really excited to have this conversation with you because I know a little bit behind the scenes, what the listeners may not know, and they're in for an absolute treat to hear about your classroom and to just hear about this lesson that you've taught that your students keep talking about. So, take us there. What do you do? What do your students do? What's the lesson all about?
So my students really just love the idea of getting outside and really bringing the community into our classroom. And so I think I always try to find ways to do that. I live in a small town, and so our community is there and very supportive. I'll see my students sort of wherever I go. Just the other day I was at 7-Eleven and a former student was there, and it was so fun to see him and just have that part. And so bringing that community in with the students is always something I try to do. And so one lesson students always kind of talk about is just this experience we do over the course of a semester about the Colorado River, where students learn about this river that flows through our town. And it's just really important environmentally and culturally, economically. A lot of people go rafting on it. There's a lot of fly fisher anglers and all of those pieces. And so we spend a whole semester learning about it and taking the students out into the field, taking them rafting, all of those pieces sort of tie into it. And just the students, just because it's something that all of their parents' jobs sort of connect to this river because our town is so grounded in it. And just being able to allow my students to do that piece has been really powerful. But one big piece that's been really exciting is a couple of years ago, and we always fundraise with this river project. So students are able to raise money and then donate it to a local charity. It's a really important piece to do that and really have students give back to their community and feel empowered to make a change. And so we had a group of students that were really interested in saving a local lake that is about an hour from our school, and they really were excited about it. We were able to research more about it, have the students make their own decision on whether they wanted to donate our money there or not. And they decided that they did. And they actually wanted to do more than that. And so the lesson that I think the students would talk about a lot is their ability as a group of students on their own rallied around saving this lake. students that maybe never had worked together, had never really befriended each other, were all of a sudden working side by side on their own time, with their own plans to create a bake sale, to make ornaments to sell. They designed t-shirts. And when all was said and done, we raised over $1,000 that we could donate to this land trust that purchased the lake. And it's now our newest state park in Colorado. And so just to think about what students have done with just wanting to work together, I think the idea that they've changed sort of the outcome of this natural lake in Colorado is something that they'll never forget.
Well, there's that really common purpose that I think is something that, we all aim to create in our classrooms, but it's not always easy to create this common purpose. I think especially when the unstated common purpose is do well in class, right? Yeah. Or get a grade. So this is really different than that.
Yeah, I think if the only reason students are doing class is to get a good grade or to do well in class, that authentic learning is no longer there. And they need more buy-in than that. And so when they really saw, like, we are making a change right now, like this is something that right now is happening, I think really made it more powerful. And so just the importance of bringing those community problems. I'm not making state parks every year in my classroom. This is the right. Even if it's something as little of just like there's a conversation going around at your local city council about what's something to do, and just bringing that attention to the students and having them sort of form their own opinion and write letters, and having that part, understanding that it's a change that is happening now as opposed to later, that empowering of students, it makes the learning that much more authentic when it's not just like you do school because you do school, but like this is something that's going to make a change. Mm-hmm.
Exactly. I mean, and there's just nothing like that young adult energy around change. I mean, there's just like this special, charisma to it when you see them with that fire. You just like they're unstoppable.
Yeah, they really are. And I think so many times, like, we just don't tap into that because a lot of times they're rallying around things they don't even know the reason, because that's just sort of the nature of a teenager. And so helping them sort of be aware of like, this is what's going on, and channeling that energy and letting them realize like they can make a choice right now. It's cool. They can change the world for sure.
Yeah. And I think it's really neat that you pointed out that not every year this ends in a state park, like in this kind of like could totally be a movie moment, right? It doesn't always end that way. And I think that's really important for teachers to know, because it doesn't have to have that kind of an ending in order for it to have made a profound impact on your students.
Yeah, I think any sort of small change, whether it's this big state park example or something much smaller, all of these things along the way, as long as it's like grounded in the community, grounded in what the students are interested in. I think that's the key with what made this lesson so powerful, is it wasn't me bringing it to the students. If I had brought it to the students, they wouldn't have been as interested in it. One piece that not a lot of people know is I had known about this lake being up for sale because it's where I was raised. It's where I grew up. And I purposely had chosen not to bring it to their attention because I didn't want to influence sort of what was going on with my own personal teacher bias. And so I was surprised when a student totally on their own had heard about it and brought it to me. And I felt like, well, I can't say no now. It's an 11-year-old.
No, of course not. Of course not.
So to take that excitement and to take what they're interested in, and to give them an option. Like, we didn't have to. It wasn't something they had to do. But when students are given that chance to follow their interests, to follow their passion, awesome things happen.
Without a doubt. So I have no doubt that there are some folks listening who are thinking, okay, this is really cool. This is really amazing. I don't have a river. I have no idea how I would walk away from my curriculum in order to take on something like this. Even if I could find my own version of a river, I have no idea how I would take a first step. Mm-hmm. So I'm kind of curious about your origin story here. Like, how did you take a first step to making this such a central part of this particular semester?
Yeah, I think it started with just slowly sort of bringing the community in. I've always been a teacher I grew up in the area in which I teach. And so I find a lot of value in that community piece and having those experts come in and having my students go out into the community. So it just started something as simple as just having conversations with people. Maybe it's just a quick bringing something local that's happening in the area, having the students read a newspaper article about a local event, a current event happening. It sort of started small with that. And then you meet some people, you have a conversation, and then it grows into that. And someone asks you like, hey, maybe your students would be interested in that. And sort of just throwing around ideas. And a lot of them are not great ideas. And you sort of just go through it. At my school, we have the motto of first pancakes. So there were many first pancakes before you can have successes. But it's not a mistake if you learn from it. And so just sort of learning from that piece and being able to work through it. It takes a lot of work and involves a lot of relationships, but it's definitely worth it in the end. And I'm actually now done with that lesson and in the evolution of starting a new sort of lesson moving forward. And so I'm in the beginning stages of that again, where it's like, what does that look like? How is that going to be? And so you're just starting small. Again, what are students interested in? What's something that they're really going to latch onto? And so starting with that piece, getting to know your students. I'm about to start school tomorrow and I'll get to know a whole new set of students. So we'll see, but it is an exciting time to slowly sort of morph a new lesson into what will be great.
It is. Well, I think it's really a testament to your willingness and your ability to see so many resources in people, right? So often I think in education, we assume resources come from a book, or we assume resources come from someplace far away, right? With someone who has some magic or something. And I think you're reminding us that like it's right here. And so just being open to it and just starting to look for what's already there. And like the experts in your own community, the experts in your own neighborhood.
I think I was really inspired by Dr. Temple Grandin. I heard her speak 5 years ago. And she really talked about our jobs as teachers is to expose our students to as many careers as possible, because you can't be what you can't see, what you don't know. And so really trying to do that piece, I took that to heart. And so do try to expose, especially not just with different careers, but also making sure I have a lot of different representation within that situation. I'm currently partnering with a local group that's going to bring in some bilingual scientists into my classroom, which I think will just be a really awesome experience for all of my students to see. And so that connection of our community, there's so many great people, just even in talking with parents, when you meet them, you'll just meet so many great experts out there. And I think for students too, to see their parents as experts is a cool experience as well.
Really cool. Yeah. And clearly you're not afraid to ask.
Yeah. Maybe be a little more open to ask, but I'm always side there like, hey, I think a lot of times people don't even think about that. So just throwing that out there, and the worst they can say is no, but they a lot of times are really excited to come in and share what they do. And the students are excited to hear about it. So that expert piece, those community resources can do some great things.
Absolutely. So start small, pay attention. Make sure it's relevant to your students, and remember that you can't be what you can't see.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, Autumn, thank you so much for taking some time today and sharing this piece of your classroom. I know that it is going to inspire so many people to just start paying attention differently every day to all of the resources that are around them.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And just really encouraging teachers to think about ways you can really empower your students right now to make a change, thinking about ways you can make a tweak in a curriculum to really engage and make that learning more authentic, because you can do it and they will love it if you get a chance to.
You're also a great motivator. All of the things. Thanks, Autumn.
Thanks so much.
Thank you for listening to the latest series of Voices from the Classroom, the State Teacher of the Year podcast. Let's keep the conversation going. Please share these lessons on social media with the hashtag NTOY22. That's hashtag NTOY22. You can also catch up on the last 2 seasons on our website at ntoy.ccsso.org. While you're there, you can also learn more about and find ways to support all of our efforts to elevate teacher voice through the National Teacher of the Year program. Until next time.